Hello, BlueTube. It's the one and only Icebound, the Glaceon, and since I didn't really do any videos or tutorials on these, I figured I would do a showcase video for them. If you guys want to know how they're built, whatever, I'll do a teardown video, or I don't know, just show each component separately. Um, but yeah, on the right we have a motorcycle. Nothing too fancy, as you can see. Yeah, doesn't look too amazing, but here's the thing. 100% vanilla. One suspension piece for the back, one for the front. No suspension glitches. No sensors. Only a controller for the hinge. That is it. Yet, when we drive around, stays perfectly balanced, can turn perfectly fine. Suspension works perfectly fine on both sides. Obviously can pop wheelies if we need to. The only glitch welds used are to put the seat in there and to make the wheel in the back 3 wide. The nice thing about this is, as you can see, it is actually quite stable and has decent turning radius for what it is. And as I said, it could definitely do wheelies, which is nice. So, obviously, with the back tire being bigger, it does stay more stable. If you guys want to try, this vehicle out yourself, it is currently on the workshop. I believe it only has 9 subscribers. So, yeah, it's okay. It's not too amazing, but as you can see, it definitely wants to stay level. It won't flip. There are ways to flip it, like if you go, say, sideways on, say, that slope there and bounce off something, it will invert it, unfortunately. But then again, you won't be doing that on an actual motorcycle anyways, so yeah. Next, we're going to look at this monstrosity. So this has several different parts to it. Let me just list. Automatic signal, brake, and headlights. So if you push forward, your headlights turn on, your brake lights turn off. If you take your foot off the gas and try to stop, your brake lights will turn on. And when you try to turn, it will signal automatically for you. Nothing too fancy that way. As you can see, there's a button on the side. There are quite a few of my vehicles that have buttons on the side, primarily about 5 of them. And when you see this, it usually means one thing. This is fuel powered. Yes, this truck is fuel powered also. You're thinking, okay, it's fuel powered, has automatic signal lights, brake lights, and headlights. Okay, nothing too fancy yet. Let me just pop open the hood. Let's take a nice look inside. What's this? It's a V6 piston engine. And you're probably thinking, how the hell does that fit in here? As it obviously can't hit the ground. It's got more than enough clearance. It has a hood that's on top, so it's clearly not colliding with that. It's not colliding with the suspension or the front tires at all. So how the hell did I fit a V6 piston engine in a 5x5x4 area? Well, guess what? That's not the only thing this piston engine can do. It also has 3 different gear ratios and reverse. And you're probably thinking, okay, well, what? Okay, so here's the thing. This is a significant amount of logic. Let's just hope the lid, yeah, okay, it did close properly this time. For some reason, when you have lag, the hood won't close properly. As you can see, the engine does spaz out a little bit when it's trying to turn on, but it can't because the vehicle says, I'm not allowed to move forward, which will also do that when you run out of fuel as well, so it'll just halt the engine. Yeah, it's got a decent amount of space. It's also got, mirrors, because every vehicle has mirrors, and obviously there are no painted bearings. Well, I think there's like 3 painted bearings in the entire creation. But yeah, you have your tailgate on the back. Not a terrible amount of room. And we do have a WASD converter in the back here. This one has been blueprint edited to be faster. So it has your A and D right there, and it has your W and S on here. It is using controllers. So all I did was modify the controllers to be 10 times faster. That's all. Any faster and then they would fly off. So yeah, I wanted it to be instant. And it's, I'd say, as close as you're going to get to modded WASD converters. So now that you've seen all of that and all of this, and you see that there's logic and fuel cell in the front, and oh my gosh, it's a lot to take in. Let's go for a drive. Oh, I do notice that this part right here seems to not spawn incorrectly, so let me just, for visual sake, fix it. That will obviously be fixed also with the, if you notice now the lights are turning on properly. Because right now it should only be the brake lights, but there are currently no brake lights. That's because I still have to hook up the signaling module. It's in there, I just have to hook it up. So if you notice, push forward, nothing happens. Go into first gear, press forward, it moves. You're probably thinking, well, that's not very fast. This is also first gear. The only downside about this vehicle is that the gear ratios have more to do with the timing belt than an actual, a gear ratio. So you don't actually get more torque, but it is speed related. So let me just, next gear. So we just went from 25 blocks per second, which is calculated by the mod pack. I put a little speedometer on it. Now we're going about 40. And we're only in second gear. So let me go to third gear. You'll notice it gets not too much faster, but it is going about 50 blocks per second, which is, it's pretty good actually. The nice thing about this vehicle, compared to the, the V6 piston engine, is the V6 piston engine, it spawns correctly, but when you weld it, you have to weld it twice. This one, if you noticed, we didn't have to weld it or respawn it. You just spawn it in and it loads properly fine. Don't have to do any fancy stuff. I managed to get the reliability that well for the, well, the glitchy way the V6 piston engine's hooked up. But yeah, it's not too bad. And again, we have reverse, so if we want to, as you can see, the wheels went instantly backwards to try to go backwards. And we can go back into forward. See? Instant. It's nice. And the reason it does that is because the timing belt that rotates is actually set to about 5 times speed. And that's primarily to, make it so when you switch gears, it's instant. So it's not quite instant, obviously, because you have to wait for it to rotate, you have to wait for the 2 logic gates to change, and you also have to wait for the WSD converter. So it's about 5 ticks. Still less than a second, though, which is pretty good. And I believe a actual car or truck is quite a bit faster on that. Don't quote me, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, as you can see, it also has suspension. So it's not doing too bad there. It doesn't compress a whole lot, but then again, we don't really need it to. This is just a piston-powered, fuel-powered, automatic signal lights, brake lights, headlights, V6 piston engine truck. Yeah, I kind of like it. I think with the current game as it is, this is the closest we're going to get to a realistic truck and vanilla scrap mechanic. Obviously going back is a little bit slow and buggy. It doesn't really like doing it all too often. But you know what? It does work, which is good. The way I did the forward and back is the timing wheel will only rotate to the gear when you're pushing either forward or back. So if you're pushing backwards, it goes negative, I believe, 200 degrees. Don't quote me. I'll have to check the controller settings later on. Right, which will put the, the actual timing belt on the opposite direction, which means it turns on the opposite amount of pistons, which sends it backwards. The nice thing about forward, though, is if you change which pistons turn on at different times, you can actually get different torque levels or speeds. And obviously, since this engine does have, 6 pistons, it does have quite a bit of torque. So we are able to move this entire vehicle and, the drive shaft and the suspension and all that stuff without too much issues. As I said, it can go 50 blocks per second. So yeah, we have our motorcycle. We have our, well, what I'm considering the most realistic truck in the game. As I said, if you can find something better, let me know. And if you have any suggestions for this other than, moving where this is, I want to put in the right here, just so, when you go to open your hood, you have a latch on here to unlock it, then you actually have a little mechanism on here that also unlocks it as well. So you got dual latch system. Obviously, we aren't using any suspension glitches in this, other than, well, fitting that suspension piece in there. I had to put it through the V6 piston engine, because if we just take a look at that, it's, yeah, it's pretty cramped in there. Being able to have this wheels, or have the wheels actually turn without causing any suspension glitches and stuff was, not the easiest thing in the world, so, yeah. But yeah, if you guys, as I said, like any of these creations, let me know. Hit the like button. Tell me any ideas you have for future videos or future creations. I'm sorry that I didn't do any, videos or streams on the piston engine or the fuel cell or the WSD converter or the truck or even the motorcycle. These were just kind of, I don't know, ideas. Actually, I think the truck I did on a stream. But I think I had a 3-cylinder engine and it didn't move very fast. Then I asked Allstrike, help me. And, well, we had fun, so that was awesome of him, actually. I did strip down his V8 piston engine, and I modified it so it could take, 6 pistons, so an odd amount, because you would have them in pairs, right, for a V-shaped engine. And I also, well, compacted the living hell out of it, so it only takes up a 5x5x4 area. And since you have the lower half still available, right, because it's only the top 2 blocks that are 5 wide, it's basically remains 3 wide, other than those top 2 blocks, which we have up here, which still allows these wheels to, work perfectly fine in there. Yeah. What should I build next? Other than, a piston-powered piston and a bunch of other stuff. I do want to kind of mess around with the ropes mod. I am having quite a bit of fun making transport vehicles in vanilla, though. This truck, it does have quite a few bearings. I managed to reduce the count of the bearings in his V8 piston engine, and going from the 3-cylinder to this one only increased it by about 7. But then you also got to count, I added bearings in the hood, I have them on the mirrors too, and yeah, it's a bit of stuff. But yeah, see you guys in the next video. Bye. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord. I have a community creation section there where I get most of my inspirations from, even if it's not Scrap Mechanic related. Like, we have one guy. He does a bunch of VR stuff. He's trying to make his own VR game. You might know him. He's the guy that made the buoyancy mod. Don't forget to check them out. See you guys next time.